Hello my friends. With around 86,000 farms, the agriculture sector accounts for nearly half of Australia's total land area. Livestock grazing is widespread, occurring in most agricultural regions, while crop farming is often concentrated in areas near the coast. In today's video, we'll explore how Australia's 1.05 billion acres of agricultural land are used. Australia is one of the world's largest exporters of raw cotton, with over 90% of production exported, mainly to spinning mill customers in Asia such as China, Indonesia and Thailand. Cotton is grown in the inland regions of northern New South Wales and southern Queensland. The cotton growing season in Australia lasts about 6 months, starting around September and ending in March. Cotton is grown by farmers on the plains with the fertile soil high in clay content and convenient for irrigation. These farmers prepare the land right after the cotton season ends. As you can see, during this process, the old cotton stump will be covered with soil to add valuable nutrients. This also helps the soil reduce evaporation, and it will retain a certain amount of moisture for the seeds to germinate. Growing a single crop in a field can lead to nutrient deficiencies and a formation of pathogens. To avoid this problem, farmers at this site produce 2 cotton crops and then switch to intercropping other crops such as corn or leave it fallow. Of course, the type of crops planted must be consistent with factors such as climate, water source, and market price. Cotton seeds are sown by farmers in the spring as soon as the soil is loose and warm enough to ensure satisfactory germination. Seeds are planted about 10 to 12 seeds per metre, like this. What you're seeing represents the life cycle of a cotton plant, from a small bud to a flower and finally to the cotton we use. Agriculture accounts for more than half of Australia's land use, so sustainable management of this land is important. During the farming process, farmers also apply environmental protection methods to help agriculture develop sustainably. Besides cotton, sugarcane is also a popular crop amongst Australian farmers. About 95% of sugarcane produced in Australia is grown in the Queensland coast, and about 5% in northern New South Wales. More than 80% of all sugar produced in Australia is exported as raw sugar, making Australia the second largest sugar exporter in the world. In recent years, the key export markets have included Korea, Indonesia, Japan, and Malaysia. Because of its important contribution to the sugar production industry, on Australian farms, sugarcane is grown intensively by farmers. You are now seeing a sugar factory. Here, the sugarcane will be processed and refined into sugar grains like this. If we were in the past, from planting, harvesting to milling, all would require arduous manual labour. But now everything has been replaced by modern technology. Wine is an important agricultural industry in Australia, with more than 1 billion litres of wine produced here each year. There are more than 2,000 wineries in Australia, mainly found in the cooler southern regions of the country. Australia's warm, dry summers and rich soil provide an excellent environment that helps Australian farmers produce world-class grapes. More than half of the wine exports are headed to the UK. Other major markets include the United States, New Zealand, Canada, and Germany. Australia's big, bold, and affordable wines are sought after. One grape variety is starting to shine, Shiraz. This was one of the first grape varieties brought to Australia. It is quite easy to grow and resilient in most climates, making it popular with Australian farmers. Taking care of vineyards requires more special care than other crops. Farmers do not completely remove weeds, but only cut off the tops. Retaining the grass roots helps prevent vineyard soil from eroding. This machine helps farmers to harvest quickly and without much impact on grape quality. Establishing a vineyard takes a long time, often up to 5 years until the vines produce maximum yield. Grape growers must take a long-term view in planting, considering climate change forecasts and market trends a decade or more in advance. If you travel along the states of Western Australia, New South Wales, Victoria, and Queensland, you'll see many images of stretching wheat fields. This is also Australia's main agricultural crop, bringing in an average export of about $4.6 billion per year. Farmers start with fall planting. The tillers work at full capacity to loosen the soil. Next, the farmer will use this machine to sow seeds. The wheat seeds will be planted in a straight line like this. As you can see, once the wheat is completely dry and ripe, the farmer uses a combine harvester to collect the wheat grains. Depending on weather conditions, harvesting usually takes place in spring and summer. You can see harvesters running through the wheat fields. With their smiles on the faces of the farmers, it seems that they have had a good harvest. And now is the time to reap the fruits of their labour. People use wheat to make flour, as food reserves and as seeds for next year's crop. In addition to domestic consumption, the majority of Australian wheat is exported to Asian and Middle Eastern markets. Besides farming, livestock is also a bright spot in Australian agriculture. Australia is the world's largest sheep exporter. Each year, Australia exports about a third of its lamb to the US, and other major markets include the Middle East, the European Union, and China. Sheep are raised by Australian farmers in a variety of conditions, from temperate zones, the eastern highlands, mountain slopes, and even semi-arid grasslands. These are high rainfall areas, which occur in New South Wales, Victoria, South Australia, and Tasmania. Large sheep flocks in Australia have around 1,390 sheep raised outdoors. Some large breeding facilities even have a capacity of up to 70,000 lambs per year. This is a herd of sheep being grazed by farmers on grasslands, where they can freely eat, drink, and move around. Not only that, grazing also produces quality meat sheep. In fact, raising sheep requires less labour than other types of livestock. In addition, initial breeding stock is cheap and flocks can be multiplied quickly. These sheep eat many different types of plants. This makes them great weed destroyers. When sheep reach about 3 years old, they will be taken by farmers to slaughterhouses to begin the production process. At this point, their meat will be red in colour and rich in flavour. Proportionate to sheep farming, Australia is the largest wool producing country in the world, accounting for about 32% of the world's total wool production. On Australian farms, The dominant breed of sheep is the merino, and it is raised for wool production. Typically, merino wool is the finest and softest wool in the world. Merino wool is bright white and super smooth, suitable for blending with other fibres such as silk and cashmere. No other natural or man-made fibre can compare with it. Beef cattle are raised outdoors in all Australian states and territories. The scale and quality of these farms helped Australia to quickly become the third largest beef exporter in the world. That is also the reason why the beef cattle industry has become one of the two key components that create huge wealth for Australia. Beef cattle are suitable for temperate climates and a few are suitable for tropical ones. Areas with good grasslands will often have high livestock densities. Beef calves are usually weaned when they are about 8 to 10 months old. During this period, farmers will feed them a diet appropriate to their production goals. When beef cattle weigh in, they weigh about 1,100 to 1,500 pounds, and they are then sent for processing. Beef will appear on the domestic or export market in packaging like this. Australian beef farmers also regularly inspect grazing areas to protect against predators and toxic plants. To improve pastures, farmers will apply rotational grazing methods. Additionally, many farmers will now vary their approach to pasture depending on the animal needs. More than anyone else, farmers know that carefully managing pastures for grazing helps maintain beef quality. This is also beneficial for the environment, helping to ensure the longevity of the livestock industry.